For over 2 decades, SpongeBob SquarePants has been our go-to for optimistic, nonsensical fun. He's the cheerful, absorbent, and yellow friend who lives in a pineapple under the sea. But what if the vibrant world of Bikini Bottom is just a colorful front for a much darker, more unsettling reality? What if all the laughter is just masking deep-seated anxieties, existential dread, and secrets so grim they could change how you see your childhood forever? From the very ground the city is built onto the psychological state of its most beloved characters, the shadows of Bikini Bottom run deeper than you could ever imagine. Today we're peeling back the sunny exterior to expose what's rotting underneath. Get ready to have your childhood turned completely upside down. That lovable, porous, yellow sponge you grew up with has a dark side you were never meant to see. From unsettling themes to genuinely disturbing fan theories that are almost impossible to debunk, here are 10 things about SpongeBob that are way too dark. Number 10, the unsettling critique of capitalism. Coming in at number 10 is a theme that might seem subtle at first, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. The show's dark commentary on capitalism and labor. The Krusty Krab, SpongeBob's workplace, and the heart of Bikini Bottom's fast food scene isn't just a quirky restaurant, it's a grim look at corporate greed and worker exploitation. At the helm is Mr. Krabs, a character whose entire personality is built on his insatiable lust for money. He pays his most dedicated employee, SpongeBob, what is clearly less than a living wage, often taking advantage of his cheerful naivete for his own financial gain. SpongeBob's boundless enthusiasm for his repetitive, low-paying job can be seen as a metaphor for the ideal, uncomplaining worker stuck in a cycle of labor with no real hope of moving up. He finds his whole identity in being a fry cook, which some see as a critique of how capitalist systems encourage people to link their self-worth to their productivity. Squidward, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. The jaded, alienated worker who knows his situation is miserable but feels powerless to change it. He's trapped just like SpongeBob, but without the blissful ignorance. This dynamic turns the Krusty Krab from a funny burger joint into a small-scale version of a bleak, capitalistic society where greed is king and the working class is endlessly exploited. Number 9, the hash-slinging slasher. At number 9, we have something that comes straight from one of the show's most iconic and genuinely scary episodes, Graveyard Shift. While SpongeBob is known for its laughs, this episode took a hard turn into ghost story territory, introducing a terrifying figure known as the hash-slinging slasher. As Squidward and SpongeBob are forced to work the Krusty Krab's first ever 24-hour shift, Squidward decides to scare SpongeBob with a made-up story about a former fry cook who met a gruesome end and now haunts the restaurant. He describes a ghostly figure with a rusty spatula for a hand, who shows up late at night, announced by flickering lights and a ringing phone with no one on the line. It's a classic campfire horror story, but the episode's genius is how it brings this chilling tale to life. As the night goes on, all of Squidward's fictional omens start to happen for real. The lights flicker, the phone rings with no caller, and a mysterious bus drops off a shadowy figure that perfectly matches the slasher's description. The episode masterfully builds suspense and real fear, a huge departure from the show's usually lighthearted feel. For a lot of kids, the hash-slinging slasher was a genuine source of nightmares, proving that Bikini Bottom could be a place of real horror. Number 8, SpongeBob the Obsessive Stalker. For most of the series, SpongeBob's relationship with Squidward is just a classic case of an annoying but well-meaning neighbor. As the seasons went on, however, this dynamic took a much darker, more obsessive turn, landing it at number 8 on our list. In several episodes, SpongeBob's behavior goes way beyond simple annoyance and into the territory of stalking and psychological torment. The most disturbing example of this has to be the episode Squid's Visit. In this episode, SpongeBob is desperate for Squidward to visit his house. When Squidward says no, SpongeBob takes matters into his own hands by borrowing Squidward's vacuum, forcing him to come over. When Squidward steps inside SpongeBob's pineapple, he's horrified to find that SpongeBob has perfectly replicated the interior of his own house, down to the smallest detail. This implies that SpongeBob has spent an insane amount of time secretly watching and possibly breaking into Squidward's home to make such a perfect copy. The episode plays out like a psychological horror film, with Squidward getting more and more disturbed as he navigates the creepy replica. The whole thing ends with Squidward's actual house burning down, forcing him to stay in SpongeBob's imitation, which causes him to have a full-on psychotic breakdown. This isn't just an annoying neighbor, it's a chilling look at obsession and a total violation of personal space. Number 7, the sinister secrets of Mr. Krabs. We've already talked about Mr. Krabs' greed, but at number 7, we're diving into a fan theory so dark it reframes reframes his entire character. The idea that the Krabby Patty's secret ingredient is crab meat. This popular and unsettling theory suggests that Eugene H. Krabs isn't just cheap, but a cannibal profiting from his own kind. The evidence is circumstantial, but it's chillingly persuasive. For instance, have you ever noticed there's a distinct lack of other crabs in Bikini Bottom? Besides Mr. Krabs and his mother, they're basically nowhere to be seen. On top of that, many fans have pointed out that the Krusty Krab restaurant is shaped almost exactly like a crab trap, the kind fishermen use to catch crabs. This could be a dark, in-your-face clue that the restaurant's whole purpose is to lure in customers to eat what's been caught. While the show's creators have stated the patties are vegetarian, that hasn't stopped the theory from spreading. This theory turns Mr. Krabs from a greedy but lovable character into a monstrous businessman, building his empire on a foundation of cannibalism. Number 6. Patrick Star's antisocial personality disorder. Patrick Star is usually seen as SpongeBob's lovable, dim-witted best friend. His simplicity is a huge part of his charm, but what if that simplicity is just a cover for something way more sinister? At number 6, we're exploring the disturbing fan theory that Patrick shows clear signs of antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. According to this theory, Patrick isn't just simple-minded, he's manipulative, lacks empathy, and shows a reckless disregard for others' safety. People who believe this theory point to tons of examples. Patrick is consistently irresponsible and often leads SpongeBob into dangerous situations without any remorse. He has sudden bursts of anger and aggression, getting into fights over small things. In the episode I'm with Stupid, Patrick manipulates SpongeBob into acting dumb to make himself look smart for his parents, showing a cruel and self-centered side. In Valentine's Day, he goes on a destructive rampage at a carnival just because he thinks he didn't get a gift. These aren't just the actions of a silly friend, they line up with several diagnostic criteria for ASPD, like impulsivity, irritability, and a lack of remorse. This theory transforms Patrick from a harmless sidekick into a potentially dangerous and unpredictable character, hiding a dark personality behind a veil of stupidity. Number 5. The horrors of one-course meal. While many of our points so far have been fan theories, number 5 is about an episode so dark it actually caused controversy among parents and fans. One-course meal. This episode isn't just unsettling in what it implies, it's openly disturbing in its content, focusing on psychological torture and attempted suicide. The plot revolves around Mr. Krabs finding out that Plankton has a deep-seated fear of whales. Instead of just using this to protect his formula, Mr. Krabs launches a relentless campaign of terror. He dresses up as his daughter, Pearl, and torments Plankton for weeks, driving him into a state of severe paranoia and depression. This goes far beyond their usual rivalry. The episode depicts Plankton's mental breakdown, leading to a scene where he, in complete despair, lies down in the middle of the road waiting for a bus to run him over and end his misery. The fact that a kid's show would show a character being bullied to the point of suicide is shocking enough. But what makes it even darker is Mr. Krabs' reaction. He thinks Plankton's suffering is hilarious and shows zero remorse. SpongeBob is the only one who shows any concern, but the episode's tone stays incredibly bleak, exploring a level of cruelty that left many viewers feeling deeply uncomfortable. If these theories are already making you see Bikini Bottom in a new light, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because what's coming next is even more disturbing. Let us know in the comments which theory so far has shocked you the most. Number 4. Squidward and the Void of Existential Dread. Squidward Tentacles has always been the show's resident cynic, a struggling artist in a world of infuriating optimism. But at number 4, we're looking at an episode that takes his misery to a philosophical and terrifying new level, SB129. This episode isn't just about Squidward being unhappy, it's a deep dive into existential dread, nihilism, and the horror of being completely alone. Trying to get away from SpongeBob and Patrick, Squidward hides in the Krusty Krab's freezer and gets frozen for 2,000 years. When he thaws out, he finds himself in a futuristic, chrome-plated world where everything is alien and strange. He uses a time machine to escape, but ends up overshooting his own time and breaking it, stranding himself in a place with no time and no space, a literal white void of nothingness. He's completely and utterly alone, a state he always claimed he wanted, but when faced with this infinite emptiness, he's hit with a profound existential crisis. The silence and nothingness become a form of psychological torture, forcing him to confront the meaning meaninglessness of his existence without the world and neighbors he hated so much. He realizes his identity was defined by the very things he despised. The episode is a surprisingly deep exploration of philosophical horror, suggesting that being truly alone isn't peace, but a terrifying slide into nihilistic madness. Number 3, Mrs. Puff's psychological breakdown. At number 3, we look at a character whose torment is often played for laughs, but represents a truly tragic and dark reality. Mrs. Puff's complete mental collapse because of SpongeBob. Her suffering is more than just frustration. It's a clear depiction of PTSD and a full-blown psychological breakdown, most disturbingly shown in the episode Doing Time. After another one of SpongeBob's driving test disasters lands her in jail, Mrs. Puff is initially relieved, realizing that prison finally means freedom from SpongeBob. Her relief doesn't last long though. SpongeBob and Patrick, in a misguided attempt to rescue her, start trying to break into the prison. Their presence triggers a downward spiral of paranoia and hallucinations. Mrs. Puff starts seeing SpongeBob's face everywhere, on the walls, in her food, even as a coat hanger. The episode turns into a surreal nightmare as her sanity completely falls apart. The guards, not understanding her terror, put her in a padded room in solitary confinement where her hallucinations only get worse. The episode's ending is a mind-bending twist, suggesting the entire thing might have been a hallucination or a dream loop, trapping her in an endless cycle of torment with no escape. It's a dark portrayal of how relentless stress can destroy a person's mind, turning a running gag into a tragic story of psychological torture. Number 2, the purgatory of SpongeBob SquarePants. Sliding into the number 2 spot is a theory that reframes the entire show, turning it from a cheerful cartoon into a bleak existential loop. The theory suggests that SpongeBob and the others are trapped in a state of purgatory. Think about it, despite all the explosions, accidents, and near-death experiences, nothing ever really changes. SpongeBob never gets older, never suffers permanent harm, and never escapes his daily grind. He's destined to wake up every morning in his pineapple, go to his job at the Krusty Krab, and repeat the same cycle over and over again. This theory suggests that SpongeBob isn't just living a simple life, he's caught in an inescapable loop. His non-stop optimism isn't a sign of a happy personality, but a coping mechanism for a life without any real progress or change. He can never truly get his driver's license, and Squidward can never find real peace. They are all locked into their roles for all eternity. This adds a layer of existential dread to every cheerful "I'm ready." He's not just ready for another day of work, he's ready for another day of the same endless, unchangeable fate. The entire show becomes a metaphor for a meaningless, repetitive existence, where the bright colors and silly antics are just a distraction from the horrifying reality that no one can ever truly leave Bikini Bottom or escape their designated suffering. Number 1, the nuclear fallout of Bikini Atoll. And at number 1, we have the most famous and darkest SpongeBob theory of them all, that Bikini Bottom is the result of nuclear fallout. This theory connects the show's fictional setting to a very real and tragic piece of world history. The name Bikini Bottom is a direct reference to Bikini Atoll, a real place in the Marshall Islands where the United States conducted numerous nuclear weapons tests between 1946 and 1958. A longtime writer and voice actor for the show, Mr. Lawrence, even confirmed that the crew was aware of this connection and played with the idea that the show takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. The theory goes that the mutated talking sea creatures who live in the show are the direct result of the intense radiation from these tests. This would explain why fish can talk, walk, and build cities, and why a squirrel from Texas can live underwater in a special suit. The explosions often seen in the show frequently look like the mushroom clouds of a nuclear blast, which many believe is a direct dark nod to the area's history. The real-life history of Bikini Atoll is one of forced relocation and permanent environmental damage. This theory grounds the whimsical world of SpongeBob in a grim reality, suggesting that the entire existence of these beloved characters was born from a real-world, man-made disaster. It transforms the show from a silly cartoon into a dark allegory about the horrifying and lasting consequences of nuclear war, making it, without a doubt, the darkest thing about SpongeBob SquarePants. From the psychological torment of its citizens to the very ground they walk on, Bikini Bottom is definitely not the innocent paradise it seems to be. The show is layered with subtle critiques of society, explorations of deep psychological trauma, and unsettling theories that are hard to shake. Whether these dark elements were intentional strokes of genius from the creators, or just the product of a creative show pushing its its own boundaries, they've added a layer of depth and complexity that has fascinated audiences for years. The world's favorite sponge is cheerful, yes, but his world is also one of existential dread, sinister secrets, and nuclear fallout. Perhaps the biggest secret of all is how a show with so much darkness hidden in plain sight became the most beloved children's cartoon of a generation. Your childhood might not be ruined, but it's certainly more interesting now, isn't it?